All right. Hi, this is Liza Graves with StyleBlueprint, and I'm thrilled to have Elaine Parker. She's president of the Job Creators Network, and she is on the front lines fighting for small business owners right now and looking at the legislation, which is right now changing quickly, especially for government speed. And we understand that it's in the Senate right now being hashed out. Elaine, can you tell us a little bit about what the situation is there, what's being fought for, and that we can just kind of get our arms around the different issues that are coming up right now?
Yeah, so let me just give you a feel for Job Creators Network, if you don't mind, if I just take
Please
about
do.
30 seconds.
That would be great.
So we're a national small business advocacy organization, and we're founded by a man named Bernie Marcus. He is the co-founder of the Home Depot. And what we do is we advocate on behalf of small business. We have been on the front lines with this coronavirus crisis since the beginning. Our CEO has been in direct conversations with the White House, with government officials, as well as Secretary Mnuchin. I mean, I'll tell you, he's actually been texting back and forth with the secretary just this week, because they came to us and said, we need to hear what small business needs, because we know, we understand they are the biggest employer in this country. 30 million small business owners. They employ 60 million people. So right now we're dealing with 90 million people dependent on the success of this bill and what the government comes out with. So there's a lot of people dependent on having a successful bill that brings this economy back, because let me start out by saying this bill that they're talking about is not a bailout for small business, because small business didn't do anything wrong. They didn't make any bad decisions. If you think back to 2008, there were bad decisions made there by people in big corporations, and that's what brought our economy down. What brought our economy down is a hidden enemy that came out and is causing the government to have to actually shut down businesses for the sake of public health, for public safety. So no one's done anything wrong here, and that's why we need a stimulus package to help prop up small business and keep their employees employed, so that we can bring this economy back quickly, so that it can spring back quickly and employees can spring back quickly, and the economy and small business can thrive again, because we had a strong economy going into this. The fundamentals of what we've done, of what the administration has put in place, all of that still exists. Right now, we have people who we're being told to stay home. I've barely left my house, in 2 weeks. So that's what's happening now. We just need to help small business get through this part.
I'm super grateful that you pointed out that this is not a bailout, because I know that I've even found myself saying that, a small business bailout. You're right. So for anyone who's watching this that does not know me, while I'm interviewing you, I'm not a journalist. I am a small business owner. I just happen to own a media company. And so while I write a lot, my job is keeping my people happy and employed, and my clients happy. My clients are made up of small business owners. I am a small business owner. So I am sitting in the hot seat right now and feeling not only all the pain of my clients, but of myself and my employees, who are scared too. And we didn't do anything wrong. I mean, we have just been out there running a great business, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, my revenue may dry up. So when I'm looking at that and I hear about 90 million people, I know I'm not alone. So tell me, what's going on in the government right now that could help me and could help the people who work for me and can help all of my clients and these 90 million people?
Well, let's take a step back just a couple of days, because so much has changed in just the last few days. On Tuesday, Secretary Mnuchin approved deferring all federal tax payments from April 14th to April 15th to July 15th. And that was a huge step, and he didn't need congressional approval to do it. We were advocating for that. We were very happy to hear that. Most likely we'd like to see it go to 180 days, but we'll take 90 right now. You still have to file, individuals still have to file as well, but you can defer those payments. And let me tell you what that does right away.
Let me interrupt you real quick, because I've heard that. I really want to make sure people realize that, because while I knew this, I had heard that you could wait to file until July 15th. So you still have to file by April 15th, but you don't have to pay until July 15th.
My most recent report is that you do have to file and then you can defer the payment.
perfect.
But I'll check on that and verify it for you to make
Wonderful.
sure
Okay.
that nothing has changed, because there is a timestamp on everything.
Yes.
Everything that we say has a timestamp right now. But that's huge, because it frees up that money that everybody was preparing to pay on April 15th to put towards operations, keeping the lights on, potentially keeping your employees there. That's all important cash flow, because I've been saying all week on all my media interviews, cash is king. How do we get cash flow to these small business owners who don't have anybody coming in the door, or revenue is drying up so fast? So that was huge. On Wednesday, the next day, on Wednesday, the Senate followed the House in passing the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So that was phase 2 of the phase 2 bill that they passed. This vote was bipartisan, signed by the president Wednesday night, and the president supports it. So does Job Creators Network. But this legislation requires small businesses to temporarily provide paid medical leave for affected employees, the cost of which will be reimbursed by the federal government through tax credits. The Treasury Department will help small businesses that may not have the cash flow to make it to tax time by offering advanced tax credit refunds. And the Labor Department can issue exemptions for small businesses facing dire hardships from this mandate. So there's a lot to learn there in the details, and there's more details to learn there, of course. But because of the paid leave, and this is all under the Family Leave Act, which went into effect, back in 1992. Right. It's an expansion of it, temporary. It sunsets at December 31st at the end of this year. It does some additional things for individuals related to health insurance, with covering coronavirus testing for their customers at no cost. It expands WIC and SNAP, and it allows National School Lunch Program to operate even if schools are closed. A lot of kids get their at least 2 out of 3 of their meals from their schools. And it expands Indian and senior nutrition programs as well, and provides $1 billion to states for additional unemployment benefits, as well as providing interest-free loans. So there's a lot to unpack in that bill, but I just wanted to kind of bring you up to date to where we are with phase 2.
Okay, thank you.
What we're doing on Friday also, before we get to phase 3, on Friday, President Trump conducted a conference call with small business owners. They came to us and said, we're going to do this call. Can you help us bring the small business community onto the call? So we started sending out the invitation. There were 12,000 people on this call. It was maxed out. You couldn't get in after 12,000. But he talked about the legislative package in phase 3 and what they're trying to navigate all of these challenges in record time, bringing together the Congress in a bipartisan way to try and help small business out, so that they can really lay the groundwork for a Main Street recovery once this disease has passed. But anyway, he talked about that he is resolute and determined to ensure that small businesses, what he rightly called on the call, the engine of the country. He wants to make sure that that engine gets the help that they need to survive and thrive. And he talked about different aspects of the proposed legislation in phase 3. And he said that he and congressional leaders are stepping up. It was very encouraging for our members on that call to hear directly from him. He is determined to solidify a platform from which small businesses can rise in a massive Main Street recovery. So there is a huge focus on small business. We have felt it in the communication that we have received from congressional leaders, from the White House, from Secretary Mnuchin. Huge focus on small business. So I don't want anybody to think that they're just focused on big business, because that is not the case. I know we all saw that in 2008. We all felt that. We actually ran an ad this week, and it was with a message that small business is too big to fail. So really,
I loved seeing that. And let me for anyone who may be watching this, I know that out of my clients, a lot of them are under 50 employees. So when you talk about small business, are you talking about, that 50 to 500 employee? Or, as a woman business owner myself, a lot of women only have 2 or 3 employees,
Right.
but they make up a lot of businesses. So are you thinking everyone within the category of small business?
We were thinking, and some of those details have yet to come out, and we were discussing them right before I went on this interview with you. In the phase 3 bill, the loan forgiveness for keeping employees on salary, for keeping those salaries going. The big question is, how do 1099 independent contractors, which make up a large portion of our small business owners, how do they fit into it? I've had my own business as well as an LLC. I was my own employee. I paid myself, so I'm an employee. So if I keep paying myself, how does phase 3 impact me? So those are details that are still yet to come, but you are small business owners, whether you have, 1 employee, 3 employees, or 300 employees, the SBA defines a small business as 500 or less. And that's why you're seeing that number, 500 or less, in all of this legislation.
Right. Okay. So can you so continue on, please, with like phase 3 and what we're talking about. When I hear about loan forgiveness, of course, for me, I'm like, please, but tell me
Yep.
where all of this stands right now, because people are making the decision this weekend whether to let massive amounts of their team off or not, and knowing there could be loan forgiveness in order to keep them on may make them wait a few days. I mean, this is primary information for people to hear.
So this is what I have, the bill that's the wording of the bill that's been negotiated. I got this in the middle of the night, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're still working through details and negotiating things as we speak. But let me walk you through everything I know. So the legislation that Senators Marco Rubio and Susan Collins introduced earlier this week was called the Keeping Workers Paid and Employed Act. And this is what we're very focused on. We brought together 28 other industry groups and associations, business groups and associations, to sign a letter in support of this and send it to Senator Rubio and Collins, so that they knew the business community, the small business community, was 100% behind this act. But what it would do is it would provide cash flow assistance through 100% federally guaranteed loans to employers who maintain their payroll during this emergency. So here's the provisions. If employers maintain their payroll, the loans would be forgiven, which would help workers to remain employed and affected small businesses and our economy to quickly snap back after the crisis. The proposal is retroactive to March 1st. So for people who have already laid off employees or deciding this weekend, this goes retroactive to March 1st to help bring workers who have already been laid off back onto the payroll. Because you as a small business owner, you've got your 3 people that work for you, and other small business owners have their 10 people or their 20 people. The bigger cost that is hard to put a dollar figure on is losing those employees and having to retrain. So we want to keep them engaged with their companies, whether they're home, self-quarantined, sick, taking care of somebody who's sick, or just trying to come to work every day and earn a paycheck. We want to keep them engaged with your companies. And the best way to do that is keep them paid. I mean, it makes more sense for the government to pay for workers to be employed than unemployed.
I agree. And as you were talking, I don't know if it was picked up because of my lighting situation in my office right now, but I mean, I got teary because I have 20 employees at StyleBlueprint, 18 full-time, 2 part-time. And what this allows is the fact that it's retroactive to March 1st, the fact that it could go till the end of June, it allows my entire team to know that they're taken care of. It allows me to continue to work with them, because small business can adapt. And if I let go of half my team, let me tell you, I'd probably adapt to having half my team, as would all of small business. Don't let our businesses adapt to that because
you use all that knowledge base.
I know
all that knowledge
we're going to
base.
lose it, and but we would adapt in a way that doesn't allow us to be what we are right now. We would all shrink, and it would be a terrible situation. So yes, as a business owner, I look at it and say, does the government want to be paying for people to be off of a job? Or do they want them to stay on a job where I'm paying for their health insurance? I'm paying for, for them to have a great job and they are engaged in the community and giving back. So
with a provision like this, I think when we do a look back on the cost of keeping people employed versus having put them all on unemployment assistance and other types of safety net programs, we will find that this was a much less expensive option and that it was better for our economy, our small businesses, and just all Americans in general.
Yeah. Wow. So what else would it cover besides employee payroll and having that forgiveness of that loan?
So the loans are available immediately through the SBA, local and SBA certified lenders, which is local banks, credit unions, other financial institutions. The Secretary of the Treasury can also work very quickly to bring on additional lenders to process this, because 30 million small business owners, you can imagine.
About to say, how are they going to handle that?
which is why we've got to do it at the local bank level. You've got to be, you've got to be able to go down to your PNC or your Bank of America, where the banker knows you personally, and do this loan as quickly as possible. So the size of the loans, this is really important. This is key. The size of the loan is tied to the applicant's average monthly payroll, mortgage or rent, utility payments, and other debt obligations over the last year. And since we've all just filed our taxes, we may have all that very handy as well, which is probably convenient.
So it's rent, not just like if you own a building, but rent, right? Not just, okay, that's amazing. Okay.
So the maximum loan is $10 million.
Okay.
This is conditional upon businesses retaining their employees and payroll levels during the covered period, which is, like you said, March 1st through June 30th. The portion of the loan used to cover payroll and payments on pre-existing debt would be forgiven. Further,
I got it. So pre-existing debt, payroll forgiven. So rent you could get the loan for, but that's not forgiven. You pay that back over time.
Correct.
Got it.
That's my understanding of it, yes. Employers, so restaurant industry, let's go back to restaurant industry.
Yes.
Hurt tremendously. Restaurant workers, where do they make most of their money? Tips.
Yeah.
So employers with tipped employees receive forgiveness for the additional wages paid to those employees during the covered time as well. So if you have employees who are making that base hourly wage that are paid to servers or bartenders, but normally they make, $15 or $20 an hour. I don't know, what, depending on what restaurant you work at, if they are filling in the tips that they would have normally made the average amount, then they will be able to have that portion of the loan forgiven as well to make their employees whole. So
if you've been doing your paperwork correctly, then it benefits you.
Yeah. The bill also expands the allowable uses for the existing 7A Small Business Administration Loan Program to permit payroll support, including paid sick leave, supply chain disruptions, employee salaries, mortgage payments, and other debt obligations to provide immediate access to capital for affected businesses. So this is the maximum loan amount for SBA Express loans will increase from $350,000 to $1 million.
If you need an SBA Express loan, how express is the money to get to you?
I would have to find that out for you.
Okay. Well, for anyone who's watching, I'm sure they could Google that and they'll pop up. So, okay, that's good to know though. So it's 1 million now, or at least what they are discussing.
Well, and what the loans provide, they provide borrowers with revolving lines of credit for working capital purposes, and the cost of the participation in the program would be reduced for both the borrowers and the lenders by providing fee waivers and automatic deferment of payments for 1 year with no prepayment penalties.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. That's big.
A couple of additional items that are included in there. It provides grants to offer counseling, training, and related assistance to small businesses affected by COVID-19. $240 million for SBA small business development centers and women's business centers. The non-federal match for women's business centers would be waived for a period of 3 months. $10 million for minority business development agencies, minority business centers. $25 million grants for associations representing resource partners. And then just before I came on with you, there was a report that came out. Larry Kudlow was quoted. He's the director of National Economic Council for the president. He said that negotiators were looking at a price tag of around $1.3 to $1.4 trillion. And he didn't rule out that it could creep up further. The higher price tag is coming because negotiators are trying to reach a deal in principle today on this stimulus package. It's expected to be an integrated package that combines the expanded unemployment insurance with also the rebate checks, because on the individual side, part of this package includes rebate checks directly to Americans for individuals. I've got some of those details, but I won't go into them unless you want me to.
No, but yeah, I think that I feel like that information has been really pushed out where this information has not been.
Yep, I agree. The increased size of the bill, what we're reading, I have no confirmation of this right now, but something that we've really been pushing for, and that is may even include a payroll tax holiday. And we've been pushing for a payroll tax holiday that's very targeted for employees and employers that have 100 or less workers. So very, very targeted. Yeah. And that way we're helping the people that are probably hurt the worst. And not only that, we think it will cut about 100 or less employees would cover about 92% of all small businesses in this country.
Wow. And when you say a payroll tax holiday, is that for the rest of 2020, or what does that holiday look like?
Well, we're advocating through the end of 2020.
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's what we've been asking for.
That saves me 2 employees. That I have everything as a dollar amount right now for trying to keep.
Think about it. You both pay each side. And so for the employee, they get more money back in their paycheck so that they can handle their individual expenses if they've lost any income due to the crisis. For employers, it allows them to keep payroll going, keep the doors open, keep lights on, and keep things going and reinvesting in the business. Reducing the tax burden on small businesses going forward is going to prevent layoffs and business closures. And so we are pushing hard for this. I know the administration is pushing hard for this. It's being negotiated. We'll have to see, how things shake out. But that's the report I saw just before I came on with you.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you. I have one last question for you. So I know that I'm all over social media right now because that's part of my job, and that's part of, we are trying to put out good, positive information for our readers, but that's more about happies. So, and it's really happy to say, go, get dinner at a local restaurant, and it matters to that local restaurant. Buy a gift card from your local retailer, and it matters to them. But what we're talking about, this bill, it's, to me, the category of, okay, do that, but you have got to call who? Call your senator? Who do we call?
So what I would recommend is that you send an email or call your Senate offices this weekend. And if you go to senate.gov and you click on the senators tab, you click on contact, you can find your senator by your state and shoot off an email to them right there. You can also call them on Monday. The phone number for each of your Senate offices are there as well.
What should the email say?
The email should basically say that you want them to pass. The name of the full package is called the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act, C-A-R-E-S, the CARES Act. That you're a small business owner, that you need this relief to keep your employees employed, to keep your doors open, and you want them to pass and vote for the CARES Act.
The CARES Act. And that is the provision within this overarching bill that is specifically for small business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elaine?
And Just one more thing. We have been, I mentioned, soliciting ideas from small business owners. We want to hear from small business owners. Anybody who sees this interview on your site can go to jobcreatorsnetwork.com. They can click on the tab that we want to hear more from you. You can see it right away. It pops up. We'd like to hear your ideas. If you're interested in joining Job Creators Network, there's a join button there as well. We're a small business advocacy organization. We have been on the front lines of this thing, and we absolutely understand how important small business is. And we have made that message very clear to the administration that small business is too big to fail. And they absolutely are hearing it and believe it.
That is wonderful. Thank you for all you are doing on behalf of all the small businesses that I know. And thank you for clarifying what is going on and why this weekend is so important.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks, Elaine. Bye-bye.
Bye.